my pleasure to turn things over to Jack Frailey, the president of the MIT Crew Alumni Association. This will turn out to be boring for people who aren't interested in what's going on with MIT Crew. And so I'm reaching the conclusion that the people who stay are. Great. Those of you who are rowing alums and don't have this, take it from Stu when he asks you. It tells you. It's what I mentioned earlier, was on the sign-in table that I think you ought to see. Stu, give me back the outline for my speeches. It's one of them? Anyone. I'm kind of hoping that you have some questions that are on your mind, because if I talk too long, the folks who would really like to hear something I didn't say aren't going to hear it. But as long as we're here together at this point in time and on this day, I would start by pointing out that the president of this institution spent a couple of hours here with us at a time when she could have been any one of 40 places. And she spent a good 20 minutes with me, which I wasn't expecting. But unless you had a chance to talk to her, you may not appreciate what a very positive situation this is. And I think much of it will be and is a result of Susan Hockfield and her interests and what she sees for the future. We have made a lot of progress in the last 12 months toward the goals of the new organization, the MIT Crew Alumni Association, which was described at some length in the first one of these that came out in late November. Sorry it came out at Thanksgiving, and some people have said it was a long time of year, and I knew that, but it was better than Christmas. So we'll try to do better about that. But the foundation of the new organization is communication. It's not only fundraising, and it's not only about competitive sports. It's about rekindling the interest and passion that all you guys had when you were here, by whatever means we can at our disposal, which obviously means communication, and that's why we want to make sure that we're getting through to people. And it's disturbing to find it in one or two important cases that we seem not to be. But just to go through the list, which you'll read in here, we've got a new director of rowing, Tony Kilbridge. I think he's done amazing work with what he had to work with. You know, I thought things were really bad last year when there were no lightweights men in the boathouse. There were, but not enough to compete. This year there was not a JV or a second freshman boat in the boathouse of any kind. There was no JV heavyweights, no JV lightweights, no JV women's open, no JV women's lightweights, and no second freshman boat. So we have never been so thin. We have never had so little to work with. And I watched our boats row at the sprints, and I watched them row at the IRA, and my hat is off to Tony Kilbridge, who did what he did with 7 sophomores out of 9 oarsmen. So, as impatient as I am and as skeptical as I tend to be, I just have to realize that it's going to take time to change something around that we let build for 25 years. The last time we were competitive in this boathouse was 1980. As most of you remember, because you've seen material about that. So that's number one. Number two, we've realized for a long time, and the Institute has finally agreed that the future depends upon our having full-time freshman coaches, which we've never had before, but we now do. At the beginning of September, there'll be 4 full-time freshman coaches here, and that was made possible by the fact that Steve Immelman took the job over, and because we had some surplus money in our fund, thanks to you guys who donate, and a pox on you guys who don't. And so that's happened. One of the major reasons for that is because we can't compete as we used to, and haven't been for a long time, without recruiting dirty work, without attracting competent, bright, MIT admissible, experienced oarsmen into the freshman class. And the freshmen who were here before said, I'm not being paid for that, you know, back for that. Now it's a different matter. In fact, they've already begun. And I should right now stop and introduce several members of my board. Jesse is here. Where's Jesse? Jesse Lipton. Holly is here. Holly is back there. Mark is here. Mark Findice. We have a great board, guys. This sidebar. We have 15 people that I have enjoyed and been honored to work with. And we'll keep it this way. What was I talking about? Recruiting. Okay. That's already happened. Jesse is an assistant coach at Wayland Western High School. We've had our coaches out to the various places where it's important for them to be to find out who it is that we ought to go after. MIT will not compromise, and we don't want them to. What the challenge is simply that we've never done this before when we can be better at it than any other school in the country because, although the pool might be smaller, the high school kids interested in what we can teach them are going to be more interested in coming here than they are at Caltech, or for that matter, Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. People who want an education at Harvard are competing with Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Stanford and everybody else. So we should succeed dramatically at this in due time, and that will help turn this program around. Level my notes. Yes. You're standing in an ancient building. Get ready for this. The facts of the matter are, this isn't working. This was built 41 years ago for 2 programs, and it now supports 4. It just doesn't work. The mathematics is obvious. And it's about time we did something about this. So that's on the back burner, but moving forward, Garrett Zwart, many of you remember, is an architect and in fact worked on the design of this building. Because he objected to what was being done by his boss, he got fired. But that was some years ago. But he's now here. He's in Boston. He's an architect with a lot of experience. He's been doing a lot of stuff for colleges and around the East Seaboard and stuff. And he is donating his time so far toward putting together a program that will lead to a renovation or whatever that will result in the boathouse not being tight like it is now, and more responsive to the fact that we were not designed to have 4 programs here, and we need to do something about that. That's as long as I wanted to take speaking. And you can all go where you want to go if you have nothing to ask me about. Yeah,
I just want to say that if you want to be pessimistic about the rowing program, remember in consecutive years the Red Sox and the White Sox won the World Series.
You're in the right place to bring that up. Aren't they fantastic? I mean, what is it, 12 and a half now?
Yeah.
So,
Over the 8.
oh,
I got one question.
Yes.
How do we, you mentioned we were competing with, Harvards and Yales for athletes, but what about competing within MIT for good athletes? I mean, these guys that join the swim team.
Yeah, we certainly, I didn't mention that because it's something, that is not as new as the idea, but that's got to happen too. Most of us, it seemed to me, I know, just sort of walked on without any experience in the past and then did something fantastic about it. And that's going to happen still. And because that happened to me and so many of the people I coached, I'm going to lean on Tony to make sure that that's not put in the back burner. Thanks, Brad. That's a good point.
Also, Jack, you should emphasize that a big part of rowing at MIT is that it is the one Division I level sport. And so in terms of offering student athletes the opportunity to compete at the absolute highest level possible in collegiate athletics in the United States, crew is at MIT. So that's one of the unique things about crew that can help to recruit athletes, not only smart student athletes from around the country who, if they're thinking, for instance, there's a story we heard that from coaches on the West Coast. At Berkeley, for instance, they make a big deal of recruiting, and Stanford, they position themselves as offering the best engineering program for anybody who wants to, well, actually they say they've got the best engineering program, period, which of course, as we all know, is laughable. And they said the moment that MIT starts to position themselves as the best place for rowers to go get an engineering education, they feel like they're going to really get done in their recruiting. And so that's just something to bear in mind. There are a lot of really positive things about MIT that we don't necessarily help communicate to the students who would want to come here and row. And that's in addition to the whole issue of the historical way that MIT has brought athletes into the boathouse, which is to recruit the swimmers, the runners, and so forth. And you know, there our poster child is Steve Tucker, who was a swimmer, and who then came to the boathouse and has been on the national team for I don't know how long at this point. There's a question.
Is there a list somewhere of the national and international accomplishments of MIT rowing? People that have been on national teams and
Yes, there is. I've been informed that there's one mistake on it, but Dennis, I'll see that you get it in the mail.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't have it, but I will see that. Right there. Any other? By the way, the list is extensive. I think there are 20, 25
That would be a
names
good
on there.
recruiting tool by yourself.
Oh, yeah. We have one on our board. Chester?
Before Jack gets through, my name's Chet Frailey, 62. Jack was my coach as a freshman. He abandoned us and went on to the varsity, but we caught up with him the next year, and he was my coach, and as he has been for so many of you folks here. What Jack has done in the past 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, whatever it is, but particularly the last 20 years, to get this program back on its feet and stop the free fall is just unbelievable. He's going to kill me for doing this, but I think I want everybody here to make sure that they go, make sure that they let Jack know how much we appreciate the work he has put in to get this program going.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay.
All right.
As the movie said, same time next year.